Good morning and welcome to Homepage, a public affairs feature of 93.7 K Country and Wind FM 95.5, 92.5, and 107.9. I'm Bob Moody, and my guests today are Dr. Heidi Maier, Superintendent of Marion County Public Schools, and also Kevin Christian as Public Information Director. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us here on Homepage. I want to get into a couple of things, and of course, we could talk about a basis for Marion County Public Schools. Everyone should already know your jobs. You were the Public Information Director, Kevin,
Sure.
and Heidi, you were the Superintendent of the Public Schools. And we'd like to talk for just a moment about how you work with the public and how you would bring the public in to give them information and how to present them with, just an understanding of how the school board works, operates, and really just mixes with the community.
The whole health thing. That's
Yeah,
kind of your
there you
wheel.
go.
You want to do it?
Sure.
All right.
It really begins with, we have a publicly elected superintendent right now, which is Dr. Maier. Mm-hmm. We have 5 publicly elected school board members. Those 5 school board members govern the overall operations of the district, and the superintendent oversees the day-to-day operations of the district. So that's kind of the hierarchy, if you will. Ultimately, the taxpayers are the ones who hold the control, because they are the ones who elect both the superintendent and those 5 school board members. The public is involved in really as much as it would like to be. We offer opportunity for members of the community to speak at our board meetings about any topic that could come before the board. Of course, they can also speak with my office or with Dr. Maier's office about any concern they have. Obviously, with 43,000 students and 7,000 employees, we have lots of questions on a regular basis. So, the phone call away, we're both very good with email. Our school board members monitor their emails as well. So there's lots of opportunity for our community to ask questions, to seek answers, to get information. Our board just approved a $593 million operating budget a couple of weeks ago. So that's a lot of money. It's a very expensive operation when you're talking about public education.
Right. And I think one of the greatest things that we've done, my administration has done, is really empowered our principals to answer questions and to be there for the public, because every school is different. As diverse as Marion County is, and we're the size of Rhode Island, and like Mr. Christian said, we have 43,000 kids. That's a lot of families. We're serving a lot of families. So every school is a reflection of that unique culture that surrounds that school. So every school is different, and so the principal at that school has been empowered to respond to those families the way that best suits that school. So our principals do a great job of connecting and being available for families, and that's something we have really stressed with our principals since we have been here. But there'll always be cases when somebody's not happy, and so we have area directors. We've divided our district into 3 geographical areas, and so there's a director that is like a principal mentor for that area. So they would be the next person that they would talk to. And then, of course, I'm happy to talk to families all the time. But my first question to a family is always, have you talked to the principal, or what did the principal respond? Sure. But I think we've got a great system in place to respond to the public.
Now, I want to get into just a few points here, some notes that we had talked about earlier. Storm passed through a couple of weeks ago, and the public schools, it seems to be one of the places that opens for shelters. And you had quite a few of your schools. I did hear that school was actually out for the week because of shelters being set up into your schools. But you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, we are the shelter. In statute, it actually says that the school systems will be the sheltering facilities,
Okay.
and that in statute it also says that school personnel will staff the shelters. And what an honor it is to do that. But we did have four shelters for this storm, and the concern from from the Emergency Operations Center, and that falls under the sheriff. And his concern was, our citizens that were on the east side of our county. And again, we go back to how big our county really is. People sometimes don't think about it, but how diverse it is, how large it is. And those folks on the east side, did have till the very last minute. They were in that cone of uncertainty, even more than the rest of us. So. When we close one school for a shelter, we have to close them all. So that's why the entire district was shut down. We initially just closed for Tuesday. And then when we had that last meeting, I remember we're sitting around the table at the EOC with the sheriff, and we're like, oh, no, we got to do this. So we decided we would close the entire week, because it was going to be bad. Remember, up until that very last day, it was going to be bad. So let's just close. Let's get ready. We went into action. Rebecca Rora, who oversees our transportation system, she already had the buses lined up to go fetch the folks with special needs and bring them to Westport High. And so we went into action then. Well, the sun came out, and it wasn't as bad as we thought. And thank God, literally, thank God. So we were able to open early, and again, it's in statute that we have to do it, but my goodness, what an honor it is to serve the community in this capacity.
Yeah, the storm sat in the Bahamas. Of course, we've all seen the devastation that went on, that happened there, and we just didn't know what this storm was going to do. We only had, what the forecast is, and you had to prepare in advance for it. So, yeah, you have to make that decision to move forward. And
and the sheriff makes the decision.
Okay.
Again, he is in charge of public safety, and it's his purview whether or not to open shelters. So again, we follow his guidance, follow his guidelines, but we have everything ready. As soon as he says let's do it, we are ready to roll. So
everything went well with the shelters opening.
Oh yes, we've. Oh my gosh, Kevin, you've been with the district longer than I have. Even when I was teaching. I mean, we've done this. We've been ready every year for forever.
Yeah, this is nothing new for our folks. They know exactly what to do. They know to jump into action. They have a team assigned to each shelter, and the shelter manager, if you will, is the principal of that school. What other person knows that school that well other than the principal? So the principal is the one who leads that team, and they do either 8 or 12-hour shifts. And I think those shelters were open for 2 days, maybe 3 days. So, you're talking a shift change of people every now and then. And schools that are set up not just to accompany or accommodate people, but to accommodate people with special needs and animals in some cases. Yes. So, between those 4 shelters, we had, I would say, anywhere from 200, 250 people working, not just the shelters, but the support to those shelters, meaning some of those bus drivers that Dr. Maier mentioned earlier on Becky Rora's team. So there's a lot of people behind the scenes that aren't even seen at the shelters that are still part of the team. Incidentally, this morning I just learned that it cost the district about $75,000 to open those shelters for those 2 or 3 days. So that's a cost that we'll submit to the federal government for reimbursement, because the governor did declare the entire state as a disaster zone. So that makes that possible.
How about food? You provide food for them also?
And it's really good. No, it is. It is. And, I always try to look at the positive. And looking back at Irma, during Irma, I worked at Denellen High School. I worked that shelter. And Deborah out there, Deborah Koch, with in the food service, she made the best pizza. I remember me and the mayor of Denellen sitting the one night, and we were just having pizza, just talking. And, so you celebrate those little things like that. But, yeah, our food service folks, they work, and we really try to treat these people well, just knowing that the reason they've left their home and to come to us to take care of them. And also we think about our principals and then the others who work in the shelters, and they've left their families too, their homes, their families, to come and take care of the community. And I'm so humbled by that.
I had somebody ask me, well, how in the world did you guys get all that food in there so quickly? Well, you had to remember we're feeding 43,000 students every day. So we have food on hand well ahead of time. So it's not that this was a crisis where we had to have food overnighted. We were already prepared for the next week of school. So we had those supplies on hand. And when they weren't needed, they simply went back into regular rotation for the schools. So we didn't lose any food. We didn't have to order extra food. That's just how we operate with that large a number of schools and students.
And it's not just food. You think about a shelter, and okay, shelter, you go and. But the preparation has got to be it's enormous, with cots, place to sleep.
There's
blankets.
actually they literally measure space for each person that's anticipated at that shelter, the capacity of that shelter. They'll go in and tape off those areas in many cases.
Really?
So that's a job. Then you have folks who have to make sure that the facilities themselves are up to handling, for instance, the water loads, coming in and going out of the school. That has to be considered. You have the food services, you have the transportation, then you have just the manpower alone to just manage those shelters. So that's how you can see quickly 250 people can become involved just like that on a moment's notice.
Now, you mentioned transportation. The transportation is for someone that
just with special needs, and they have to be registered with the Department of Health. So we worked very closely with them.
Okay.
And as we were gearing up, Miss Rora and her team were working with our contacts with Department of Health to run the data for the folks who are registered with the county. Then Miss Rora plotted out the whole bus route. Yeah.
So if you've got transportation, you have to make your way there for yourself, but special needs can call.
They have to be registered with the Department of Health.
As long as they're registered, yes. Or do they particularly call on them?
The Department of Health takes care of all that. That's not us. Yeah,
okay.
That's Department of Health. Yeah.
But then you provide the transportation.
We do.
Okay. Just recently, we had the 9/11 memorial event here in Marion County. We had the wall here, and you have some activities that Marion County Schools going on.
Well, we did. We were excited to hear about this. We weren't given the information until late, but we were able to get a lot of our middle schoolers and high schoolers out to see it. And then our JROTC participated on Saturday with a demonstration of their skill sets. And so we were excited about it. We were excited to be able to get our kids out there. And we also had a lot of support from our district. Our district folks went out and helped with that as well.
And then, of course, we have 9/11 events in our schools as well. I know Dr. Maier and I were both at Forest High School. Their JROTC cadets, their Air Force cadets, do a remarkable job with the ceremony each year. And we've gotten to the point now where the students who are part of the ceremony weren't even born yet. So truly what they are honoring is something that they've only read about or seen about or heard, not something that they personally experienced. So it's kind of neat to watch that honor build and come forth in those students to recognize not just those whose lives were lost on 9/11, but all of the heroes that were represented as well. So, not just Forest High School, many of our schools had their own individual school-based events, classroom assignments, classroom discussions. I have a friend who's a middle school teacher at Lake Weir Middle, and she talked about some of the unsung heroes of that day, including a guide dog who led its master to safety down, I think it was 78 flights of stairs. So those kinds of stories that help our students learn more about 9/11, more than it was just a terrorist attack. Certainly that's important, but there's so much more to it.
I see you in part of the points here that you broadcast live to the entire school, the event. Is this event in one particular place, or was it one at each school?
This event was particularly at Forest High School that I mentioned, where the Forest High School Air Force JROTC cadets, probably 200 to 300 cadets, took part in this exercise. And their video production students, Mr. Guest's class, they broadcast the event live to the entire campus. So you're talking 2,200 students who saw that ceremony in real time as their classmates presented it. So not just is it an honor for those students to present that ceremony, but it's a level of expertise demonstrated by those students to share that ceremony with everybody else in the school. Those kids who were on the production crew. You had kids with cameras, you had kids with microphones, students all over the place doing specific jobs. So it was a learning experience in many ways.
Have some events coming up here that I'd like to talk about, and that is the second annual Rock Your School event. Tell us about that.
Oh, well, this is a nationwide event where schools will use the hashtag Rock Your School, and we tweet out pictures of the innovative things that are happening in our school district. We did it last year, and it really took off. Just the great things that are happening in Marion County Public Schools. It's another way for us to showcase that.
Okay, and this has just happened on the 19th. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
And, of course, you said it was a worldwide event.
Nationwide. Yep.
Really gives schools the chance to kind of brag about themselves in a competitive way, to show off how creative they can be when it comes to teaching in the classroom and really learning all over the campus. It's more than just books and lectures. And a lot of the times the schools will choose a particular theme that might be based on a rock song, name of a rock song. So that's kind of where Rock Out came from. And of course, our schools use the hashtag Rock Out MCPS, and it's a lot of fun to see how far some of the teachers and students go to make their schools shine.
And we also have Dads Take Your Child to School Day.
Yes, and that's on Wednesday, the 25th. And this is another annual event. And we promote it a lot. It's also promoted from the State Department of Education. And we're asking that the dad or the male role model in the child's life walk him to school that day. And many of our schools then will be having special events that morning for the dad or the role model to stay and to visit a little bit. But just showcasing how important a dad, a positive male role model is in a child's life.
Okay, and that's coming up this Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday the 25th. Yeah.
It's a great way for families to give mom a break. In many cases, mom is the one who's responsible for getting kids to school, and we certainly appreciate that, but moms deserve a morning off too. So this gives those dads and grandfathers and brothers and uncles and other positive male role models the opportunity to spend time with their student, with their child. They don't necessarily have to walk them to school. They can ride the bike to them with school. They can drive them to school and then come in. Many of our schools offer donuts with dad that morning, so it's a chance for them to sit and have breakfast before the day starts. It's really a lot of fun, and it's great to see how much the younger students brag about their dads when they're in the cafeteria. It's a lot of fun to watch that.
Oh, I bet it is. I'll bet it is. We have Spotlight Shines on a Marion County Public Schools public relations.
Yeah, we're going to brag a little bit about ourselves. We don't do that a lot, but we submit projects to various state and national organizations that recognize excellence in public relations. And I always tell people I have over 7,000 people on my team. I may be the director, but I have 7,000 people who make it happen every day. And truly, we received some great honors this year, particularly from NSPRA, which is the National School Public Relations Association. We received a Golden Achievement Award for our Community Reads program. And you may not know what Community Reads.
But Lewis Stokes does.
Absolutely.
Lewis does.
It's an online resource on our website, MarionSchools.net, where parents and families can look for the book. They click that icon on the homepage, and it gives them a whole abundance of resources and thoughts and ideas and activities, things they can do with their students at home beyond the normal school day to improve and increase their students' reading skills. That's what it's wholly designed for. So we received a national honor for that. The Florida Public Relations Association also recognized us with an award for that program. So we're happy to say it's an award-winning program now that still goes on. It's refreshed and made new. The content is new each first of each month.
We have celebrity readers.
We do have celebrity readers.
This month, Lewis is one of our celebrity readers. So you need to check out the website and see what book he's reading. So
Our very own K-Country Lewis Stokes.
yes.
You're not surprised to know he reads, right?
He does, huh?
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we're proud of that. And we were recognized also for a couple of other projects, our calendar project, and then it's some speeches that the superintendent delivered. So, it's great when you can share the spotlight and truly recognize people for a great job. And that's what this is all about. Our team does a great job.
Excellent. And how did schools grade this year with the state? Are we doing pretty good? Are we holding our own? What's
With the exception of one of our schools, every school either maintained or improved. And I think we had 3 schools that jumped 2-letter grades.
cool?
So
Good.
we are higher as a district, and we're almost to that A.
Yeah, so we were one of the most improved school districts in Florida.
Very good.
The day that the grades came out, we even received a call from the Department of Ed congratulating us.
What are some of the requirements? What are the things that the state looks at when they're grading a school?
Well, they look at student proficiency, which is always our goal. But we know, too, that students come in at all different levels. So growth is also something they look at. Graduation rates, making sure that our students from diverse backgrounds are maintaining and excelling. How many other points are there?
I think there are upwards of 20 to 30 different components that go into a particular school grade. At the secondary level, middle and high school, there are more components, but it's still it's a complex formula.
I am sure it is. And what a task to be able to work with all of these different things to bring it up.
We expect a lot from our teachers, and we expect a lot from our students, and that's pure demonstration that when you expect great things, you get great things. You receive great things. So we're certainly proud of our staff and proud of our students and our families and parents, because it again is a team effort. Nobody does this alone. And we still have room to improve. We're still going to be that A school district.
Yep.
Well, that's how you do it. You keep working at it, and you just keep working at it. I mean, you're doing a great job. What a fantastic job going on here in Marion County, and we appreciate you too. Got something else I want to talk about. It's called Bring Your Bible to School Day. What day is that? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's Friday, October 4th, and this is a nationwide day that's bringing attention to bring your Bible to school. In my mind, I hope they bring it to school every day, but this is a nationwide celebration of it, completely voluntary for the students. If they wish to acknowledge the fact that they're bringing their Bible to school, they're welcome, to pray around the flagpole or whatever they wish to do. But before and after school events, I think are going to be happening. And the theme this year is Bring It, Share It, Live It. And we encourage our kids to do that.
Well, I agree with what you're saying, and I'm glad you're doing that. That is wonderful to see. But do you get any feedback on that as far as problems with? I presume if you say Bible to school, it doesn't really.
Well, again, it's voluntary. We're not talking about something that's mandatory in the classroom. It's voluntary. If you want to take part, you show up, you take part. If you don't show up.
Is that what the difference is?
It's that simple, yes. Yes, it's a voluntary aspect. And it's the same as we have FCA clubs, Fellowship of Christian Athletes on our high school campuses. We have Good News clubs on our elementary campuses. All of those are extracurricular or after the normal school day, volunteer-based activities. So no student is required to take part. So, as will I. And we hope lots of other people.
And that bring your Bible to school, I guess, actually is for anyone.
Anyone at the school. Doesn't have to be just a student.
Right.
We have plenty of employees who I'm certain will bring their Bibles that day.
I want to go back, and I almost rewind back to the beginning here for just a moment. We were talking about the shelters and that the school was out for a few days. How do you make that? Do you make that up at the end of the year when something like this comes up? You know, like you have
we're
an
still,
emergency type
we have the hurricane days built in, but they're built in at the end of the year. So we are sitting tight right now because the governor may excuse some days. So we still have plenty of time to make that up. We could also use half days. Yeah.
Correct. But I would tell your listeners that it's not the practice of the district or the school board to encroach on time off that's already been long established. I've had people asking, well, what about Thanksgiving break? Are they going to take that away? No. We don't do that. We recognize people have already made plans. They have family time for that, and we in no way want to impede that. So I think I'm 100% confident, and Dr. Maier will correct me if I'm wrong, that folks don't have to worry about that. We're not going to come in on that Thanksgiving week.
No.
Has there been any talk about year-round school? You know,
they did that
years
once
ago.
here. Oh, they did that here before.
They've tried that, but not really something that's working, or?
No, it was years ago.
It was disastrous from what I'm told.
Yeah.
Here, anyway. I don't think, based on that experience, it's not a term that I hear twice a year from anybody, either from folks in the community or from folks within the school system. It's not something that we have to look at this point, fortunately.
I want to thank you both for being with us here on Homepage. It's been a real pleasure to have you here to speak with us. And I tell you, I hope we get to have you back with us here on Homepage again. Folks, my guest today, Dr. Heidi Maier, Superintendent of Marion County Public Schools, and Kevin Christian, Public Information Director for Marion County Public Schools. Homepage is presented as a public affairs feature of 93.7 K Country and Wind FM 95.5, 92.5, and 107.9. We welcome your comments. Please email me. Our email address is homepage@ncfmgroup.com. That address, homepage@ncfmgroup.com. You can listen to Homepage by going to our websites, 937kcountry.com or windfm.com. I'm Bob Moody, hoping you will join us next Sunday for another edition of Homepage.